Let me bring in Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. You're on the Intelligence Committee. We've learned about a U.S. attack last night against an al-Qaeda offshoot that, according to the U.S. government, was posing an imminent threat to the United States. We reported on that threat. How imminent was it, do you think?
Well, we don't know days, weeks, hours, whatever it may be. They're a serious threat. I mean, this is a group of very knowledgeable, experienced al-Qaeda fighters who were in Syria, not because they were looking to overthrow Assad. They're in Syria using it as an operational space. These groups they need to be somewhere where there's not a government trying to push them out. So whether it's the federally administered tribal areas of Pakistan or before that in Afghanistan, now it's Syria. Anytime there's a vacuum created anywhere in the Middle East, it becomes a magnet for these sorts of terrorist groups to come in and operate from. They're a very serious threat, and I'm glad that that's being addressed as well.
A few months ago, of course, we hadn't even heard of ISIS or ISIL or Khorasan, for that matter. Now the U.S. is dropping bombs on them. How many more splinter groups with serious capability are there?
It's a real risk. I mean, look at Libya right now. I mean, Libya is increasingly becoming an ungoverned space. I think you could see groups emerging there. You've seen al-Qaeda now announcing a new affiliate in the Indian Peninsula with aspirations to Southeast Asia as well. This is going to be an ongoing issue. I mean, these groups have splintered, but in many instances they've coordinated with one another. So the face of Islamic fundamentalists, radical terrorists such as these, has changed from one core group to multiple affiliates and affiliated groups around the world who continue to pose a real risk. So I don't think this is going to be the end of the line here. There are multiple other groups that are increasingly of concern as well.
You've said that ground troops are needed. You prefer, in an ideal world, to have local ground troops. Do you see any local forces up to the task? And if not, do you think U.S. ground troops are ultimately going to need to go to Iraq and Syria?
Well, again, I remain hopeful that we're able to find local ground troops that can do the job. I think the Kurds are very capable. They certainly need more assistance in that regard. I think that hopefully the Iraqis can rebuild their security forces through a new government that allows them to become more capable. And we hope that more moderate elements will emerge in Syria, not simply to defeat ISIL, but if we wipe out ISIL, if we wipe out al-Nusra, who's going to fill the vacuum? Who's going to take their place? Because if you don't, you're back to where you are today with an ungoverned space that will attract fighters to reconstitute themselves. What I'm saying is that virtually every military expert that's spoken out on this has said that the chances of local forces alone being able to defeat ISIL, or any group for that matter, on the ground is dubious at best. And I think it's important for the president to be honest with the American people that at some point in the future, this might require some element of U.S. ground power in order to finish the job. We can't be in a position of saying, if the locals can't do it, ISIL gets to stay.
I know you've been advocating a move like what's going on right now for quite some time. Not everybody in your party feels the same way. I know it's early, but there are polls that show Senator Rand Paul to be a potential standard bearer for your party in the 2016 election. He's up in New Hampshire. He voted against the resolution last week. He says he does not support arming the Syrian rebels. You have a very different position than him. Does it bother you that he might become the standard bearer for your party in 2016?
Well, this is a national security issue. I understand that political reporters, and I don't mean you, I mean in general, covering this, have to apply some sort of political lens to it. But what we're talking about here is a very serious national security issue that we need to confront. It's not a trivial matter. It's not one that we should be analyzing it from the point of view of what it means for the polls or the elections per se. This is about securing our country and about securing our allies as well, because that has an impact on our country. And that's how I view it. I'm going to be for what's right, what I believe is the right position, not just today, but in long term. And then, there'll be politics in the future, and they may work out or they may not in the short term. But I want to be on the right side of these issues from a perspective of 10 years from now and 5 years from now, not just 5 hours from now or 5 weeks from now.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks.